Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another installment of Heal the Shadow in Your Relationships Too. And today I'm very pleased to have with me Jackie Dumaine. Thanks for being here with us, Jackie.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are so welcome. And I'm going to tell people a little bit about you. After years in the corporate world, Jackie left her six-figure career as a burnt-out advertising executive and embarked on an adventure to an ashram in India, where she studied to become a yoga instructor. Her hope was to find herself, but what she discovered was so much more, that yoga is so much more than a series of physical postures to help create a flexible body. Rather, it is an intricate philosophy for living. And she found 10 ancient principles which serve as a blueprint for creating a life with more meaning, more balance, and joy. And they don't necessarily require touching your head to the ground or wearing black stretchy pants. She's been featured in publications such as the Yogi Times, Elevated Existence, Trifecta, Guided Synergy, and she's been involved in promotional partnership events with Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, and Jackie guides women on transformational journeys through the Yoga Code Life Coaching Program, workshop, and retreat, and is currently working on a book and a coaching certification program. So again, welcome, and I'm so blessed to have you here with us, Jackie.
Thank you so much.
So I am just going to go right to it and ask you, how can yoga help us move through our shadow?
Well, when people hear yoga, they immediately think of the physical postures, and they certainly do play a huge role in everything that encompasses yoga. I mean, the word yoga means union, body, mind, and spirit. So yes, the asanas are a huge part of that. And I think that's where a lot of people begin on their yoga journey, is on a mat in a studio. And if we were to start there, I know certainly for myself, the process of yoga, the physical aspect of yoga, is about creating openings. And when we're creating openings in the body, we start to create, on the exterior body, we start to create openings in the interior body. And things start to shift. So I know from myself, when I had a little bit of a breakdown before leaving the corporate world, I'll rephrase that, when I had a full-blown breakdown, when leaving the corporate world, I discovered yoga, and it was yoga that helped me move through some of my shadow then, because it was creating an opening. But certainly the philosophy of yoga, which is what I teach, and that's the side, as you mentioned, that doesn't need black stretchy pants, you don't need a rubber mat, you don't need to go to a studio. The yoga code or yoga philosophy is really how you live and embody yoga outside of the studio, off the mat, and in the world. And it's these principles that I believe can help us flow through our shadow on a daily basis at all times.
Well, you're mentioning the yoga code, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what is that? What is the yoga code?
I'll give you a little bit of history, and I want everyone to realize that you can literally get a PhD in yoga philosophy. So I'm giving you, which I don't have, by the way. I'm just giving you a little glimpse into the foundational principles of yoga. Okay. So without going too deep in it, there was a man by the name of Patanjali who existed thousands of years ago, and he wrote a book called the Yoga Sutras. And in this book, this ancient script, he wanted to let us know how we can use yoga to end all the suffering in our life and move towards a life that had more meaning and more joy, more purpose, more harmony. And in this book, which now is known as the Bible of Yoga. So ask any yogi about the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and they'll know what it is. It is, as I said, known as the Bible of Yoga. This book is written in 196 verses, almost like a Bible, so just small little verses. And what's interesting to know is that out of these 196 verses, only 3 of them talk about the physical aspect of yoga.
Wow. That's
And I love to
impressive.
share that. Yeah, I love to share that because it has people pause and reflect on, wow, so what about the other 193? We just happen to live in a world that's extremely body obsessed. That's another whole topic that I could get into.
Yeah.
We're so focused on body image that we have forgotten the foundational aspect of yoga. So these 10 principles, which in Sanskrit are known as the yamas and the niyamas. So very important to know that I did not invent the yoga code. These are principles that have existed for thousands of years. I've just found a way to teach them in a way that is very applicable into our modern day world.
And probably to Western society too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a way that's approachable because not everyone can read Sanskrit. I don't think so anyway.
No,
And they
not
certainly
common.
have translated as well. But yeah, so the yamas and niyamas, which I'll refer to as the yoga code moving forward, these 10 principles show up in the Yoga Sutras, the Bible of Yoga, right before the asana, right before postures. So Patanjali believed that these principles should be mastered before we even strike a pose. That these were how to live yoga from the heart, from the inside. And then that would be reflected on the outside. So that's a glimpse into what they are as a whole.
Yes. And that's beautiful because really any spiritual teaching always begins on the inside. It's just that I love that you're bringing out that yoga is so much more. It's not about the physical thing because, as you say, that's what everybody thinks of. When they think of yoga, they just think of going out to the yoga studio and doing your poses and asanas and all that. So now let's bring it around to our topic, the healing the shadow in your relationships. So how can your knowledge of the yoga code help us to move through the shadow and difficult emotions in our relationships?
Well, what I'll do is I'll go through each of the 10 principles very quickly. So I'll give you a little 101 version of the yoga code and how I've been able to use it to navigate some of my coaching clients and workshop participants through relationship challenges.
Wow.
Using these principles.
Awesome.
So the first principle is known as ahimsa. I'll give everybody the Sanskrit name and then I'll translate.
Okay.
Ahimsa is known as non-harming or kindness and compassion. But what's very important to note is that, of course, we don't want to cause harm to anybody. And of course, we want to be kind and we want to be compassionate in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, and in our energy. However, that must begin with ourselves. So I like to call this principle the principle of self-love. That really, it's so crucial and important in relationship to maintain that sense of self-love, self-kindness, self-compassion.
I always call that the foundation for creating a good relationship with anyone else. How can you know how to have a good relationship with anyone else if you don't know how to have one with yourself? So I love that you start with that.
Yeah, it's such a crucial foundation.
Yeah.
Principle number 2 is satya, which means truth. And of course, we don't want to lie. That's obvious. However, there's a lot of ways that we lie to ourselves. So what are the lies that we're telling ourselves? So many of us are in relationships that we don't even want to be in. We've wrapped ourselves around a lie of what we thought we needed to be in or what we thought we should be in. And we've all lost all sense of our own truth. So I believe that takes a lot of courage to really explore, what does truth mean to me as an individual, as a woman, as a man, and embrace that before you can enter into a relationship with another.
Yes. Very good. Excellent. Love it.
The third principle is asteya, which means non-stealing. And that's, very obvious. We don't want to steal physical items from another person or from the corner store. But asteya goes a lot deeper. There are a lot of ways that we can steal from ourselves and from others. And again, I can go deep into each of these principles, which I typically do in workshops, but for time's sakes, I'm going to give you the ones that I feel more valid right now. So when it comes to self, so our own shadow in relationship, how we steal from ourselves is engaging in self-sabotage. Right? Self-sabotage is a form of theft from being able to create opportunities, being able to create the relationship we want. And we so often fall into repeating patterns of self-sabotage, falling into guilt, which is a form of stealing from ourselves as well. So I would say the way that this principle relates to shadow is really understanding our patterns of self-sabotage and how they steal our joy from us.
That's absolutely the essential. That's the bottom line focus of the shadow. And I know nobody out there intentionally goes out to try to sabotage themselves. But like you say, the intention is to really know how you do that and to really look at it, so that there's a lot of awareness and consciousness that needs to take place. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in yoga philosophy, those patterns of self-sabotage and patterns in general, habits, are called samskaras, and they can run quite deep. So the more that we can explore them and not necessarily try and eliminate them, I think that's a misconception, that we have to eliminate them. We just need to understand them.
And integrate them, learn to work with them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Principle number 4 is brahmacharya, which means moderation. And this is moderation in all aspects of our lives. When Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras, he describes brahmacharya as celibacy, which it's shifted over the years. But when you look at the foundational message behind that, was preservation of energy, preservation of spiritual energy, to not overindulge in things where we give away our energy. And we can do that through sex, alcohol, food, working too much, spending too much, consuming too much in social media, etc. There's so many ways in our life where we can go past that point of enough, and we forget to see the divinity in everything. In moderation, brahmacharya asks us to see the divinity in everything that we engage in, so that we can see the beauty in it, and not, I like to use chocolate as an example. In my workshops, we do a chocolate meditation. And when we, engage in a piece of dark chocolate, and we really feel the sensations and the textures in our mouth, and we make love to it, is what I like to say. More often than not, we don't need another piece. We've fully embraced that. So that's what this principle asks us to do, is to see the divinity in everything.
Yeah, so I love that. So you're talking about don't squander your spiritual energy, and that is respecting your energy and recognizing it as divine, treating it as befitting a divine state,
That's right.
And when you talked about all those compulsive behaviors, well, that's definitely the shadow, the things that
Addiction.
we don't want to do, that we can't help doing. That's definitely the shadow. So I love that principle, very, very much in line with the shadow.
Yeah. The 5th principle is aparigraha, which is non-attachment. And we hear this everywhere. Don't be attached. Let it go. I find that I'm noticing people, when they start to become more awake in life, they have an easier time releasing physical attachments to things, to the handbags, or what they own in their life. But we tend to really latch on to experiences and to outcomes. So, again, that's what the shadow likes to do. The shadow likes to replay things in our mind over and over and over and over again. And aparigraha asks us that we learn to release that grip.
That's a good point, because you're talking about attachment to experiences, and I'm going to say that it's people who are attached to their past experiences, and so we stay attached to the past, we keep replaying that, we keep reliving that, and then how can you create a better future? And I thought you were going to say releasing our attachment to other people, because that's
Well,
sometimes difficult for us too.
very difficult. I
Yeah.
mean, we become in relationship. Um, s- Geez, people get attached in the first date now. They're becoming attached to future experiences that haven't even happened yet.
Yes.
Um,
And it doesn't mean that you end the relationship. You can
no.
keep a long-term relationship being unattached to your partner every moment, every day of that relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Principle number 6 is simplicity. Purity and simplicity. Saucha is the Sanskrit term. And this principle asks us that we simplify our lives. We like to complicate everything in our lives. This principle asks that we also simplify and purify our surroundings. So removing clutter from our lives. Simplify and purify our bodies. So that's putting nourishing food into our body. And purifying and simplifying our mind and our thoughts through meditation.
Yeah.
So bringing a sense of ease, simplicity, grace into everything in our lives.
And creating the space for the more to come in, or just for the intuition and the guidance to come in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible to hear that intuition if you're even, people in their cars. I mean, if your car is really cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. If your home is really cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. Our external environment is so important to creating internal harmony.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Principle number 7, contentment, santosha. And santosha asks us to find the joy regardless of what's going on around us. That even if there's complete chaos around us, that we can have this inner joy, this inner contentment. And that doesn't mean we have to put on a happy face and be happy-go-lucky all the time. But that deep down, even if it seems that there's a lot of suffering around us, we can still maintain that state of joy.
Well, the way that I tend to interpret that, because I teach that we have a personality construct and we have an authentic self. So the personality is all involved in the drama and the trauma of the moment, whatever's going on.
Yeah.
But if we can reach inside and connect to our authentic self, that part of us is all, it cannot be hurt. It cannot be, whatever the personality is experiencing. You have your joy there. You have your harmony. You have your peace. So try to connect with that while still being mindful that there's, conditions that need to be dealt with. But I love the way that you put that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the way that you put that too.
Thank you.
Look, it's a collaboration. Principle number 8 is tapas, which everyone thinks of a Spanish appetizer right away. But tapas in Sanskrit literally means heat. And so this is why this principle is about commitment and self-discipline. And some people have issues with that word discipline. And I ask that we just be open to it, because we need discipline in our lives. And we certainly need to commit to things. And commitment takes heat. Sometimes when we're in the fire of things and we feel like I can't go on anymore, I just want to let go. We're asked, can we, hold on for just another moment so that we can see the gift that we're being offered here.
Yeah. So when I think of the word discipline, I think of focus and I think of practice. And of course, I tend to use this analogy a lot with people. If you're a musician and you have a concert coming up on the weekend, you're not going to say, oh, I already practiced a few months ago, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's the consistent focus on what you're desiring.
That's right. Commitment, discipline, even just rituals. Rituals require a lot of tapas, a lot of commitment to maintain rituals. So it's a difficult one to practice, staying committed to what truly matters to us. But the reward, I believe, is an increase in self-esteem, an increase in our sense of expansion, and just fulfillment.
Absolutely. Agree with you there, 100%.
The 9th principle is svadhyaya, and that means self-inquiry. or self-study. So when Patanjali wrote the sutras, he asked that we continue to study scriptures, that we continue to learn, to always be evolving, to always be growing. That does apply today as I teach it in our modern world, but I take it a step deeper in that we also be very, in a state of self-inquiry as well. So taking that time to explore our shadow, to really understand it, to understand, why do I do the things I do? Why did I say that? Why did I feel that? Why did I think that? Mm-hmm. And to be an observer in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To go deep, to just get to know yourself.
That's
the
right.
Oracle at Delphi said, know thyself.
Yeah.
And people don't understand the depth of what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a world where we, show up as different characters in a movie, depending on the scene that we're in, we tend to change sometimes based on who we're around. So it's no wonder that we're losing that sense of who we are. Mm. So it's really important to go, I believe, into moments of solitude. I just returned from another trip to India where I spent a lot of time at the ashram practicing this principle without distractions, no book or journal, or just being with myself.
Mm. Beautiful. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I'll be going every year. Yeah. And the last principle is Ishvara Pranidhana, which means surrender. So after we've shown up to life, we wake up, we show up, we do the work, we stay committed, we practice the rest of the principles. What we're asked to do at the end is simply to surrender to what is and what will be. Mm. So in the physical aspect of yoga, this principle would tie into Shavasana at the end. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just surrendering and allowing life to integrate, allowing our wisdom to integrate, just allowing things to be.
Yeah. So once you put your energy out, you've practiced your discipline, you've gotten your focus, you are working with all these principles, it's going to unfold according to the energy that you lined up. So that's why it's good to just surrender, because if you keep trying to get in the way, then you're blocking the flow of your good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love these principles. My goodness, what a beautiful code to live by.
Very, I like to refer to them as a GPS for your soul, as cliche as that might sound, but in a way they are.
Yeah.
I know when I'm feeling a little bit of disruption or internal disorganization, I can look at these principles and ask myself, which one's out of alignment?
Yes.
Do I practice them every single day? I mean, am I always in alignment with all of them? Absolutely not, because I'm human.
Yeah.
But I certainly know when one has been pulled off course, and then it becomes my discipline to bring it back.
Well, and that's the point, because we're not going to be perfect, so we shouldn't expect ourselves to be 100% number one in each of these areas. But there are guidelines. If you just aim for that, then it helps to give you a guideline for what you're moving for, what you're moving towards.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a journey without end, really. Yeah.
That's the exciting part.
It is, because it makes things very interesting. Well, you're engaging the life force.
That's right.
This is a way of engaging the life force and creating things according to your heart's desire. So do you have any examples of how you have helped your clients in the area of relationships with different principles in the yoga code, and how we can, apply that?
Well, the one that comes to mind is the principle of satya, truth. So this is for people who are in relationships and maybe having some challenges in their relationships. And what I recommend is something that I call a truth session. And that every quarter, so every 90 days, the couple in a relationship, and this could be with, in a romantic relationship, it could be in a relationship with siblings or your parents or your friends, but we'll just talk about romantic relationships here, to sit down with your partner and with a journal and go over your individual truths. So I would say, this is my truth right now. So my truth today is, I'm feeling a little heavy in my energy, or, there's this art class I've always wanted to take and I'm really considering taking it. So just the full truth of where you are in your life spiritually, your health, your emotions, your finances, everything. Mm-hmm. And then your partner would say, this is my truth. This is where I am today. And then collectively you would come together and say, what is our truth now? What is our truth as a unit?
Yeah.
And you would document all this. And every 90 days you would do another truth session, and you could review the previous quarter's awarenesses and help and work each other towards creating that, because in our world, everyone is shifting so quickly. So it's no wonder that divorces are happening at rapid rate. I mean, people are shifting without their partner even realizing it.
Yeah.
So this is a tool and a strategy to help keep everyone on track, to help the couple stay on track as individuals and as a partnership.
Well, I love that you say that, because like you said, change is happening so quickly in the world. We don't have a chance to sit and reflect on what is happening and why are things going the way they're going and what would I prefer. And if you have a wonderful partner, or like you said, with your family, with your best friend, if you have a good relationship that you could sit down and go, are we both on track with what we each want individually and what we want for our relationship and for what we want together? Are we on track? Do we need to tweak something? Is there an area that we need to explore more and look at and unpack? So beautiful practice for that. It's like you can make it a little ritual. I love it.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. So that would be what I've noticed being the most powerful exercise that some of my clients have used with their partners and some with their friends as well. One did it with her mother, and it can be used in all relationships.
Wow. I could just imagine doing it with my mom. Oh my God.
Try it.
Jackie, you have given us so much beautiful wisdom, and I love all of these principles. And the philosophy, of course, is timeless, ageless. Right. And I recognize in everything that you're saying in the yoga code that so much of our spiritual principles, no matter which field of spirituality you are following, all stems from these principles here. These are like the foundational basic principles of everything that we've studied spiritually. So I'm so grateful to you for bringing this to our awareness and putting it out there in the world in a big way so that people can really understand the basics.
Thank you. And they are. They're not earth-shattering or cloud-parting principles. They are very simple and basic. But when you understand the ways that you can start to apply them, that's when things start to really shift and expand.
That's when it's earth-shattering. Yeah, just listening to it and hearing it. Yeah, sure. But boy, you apply it and man, your life changes. So good stuff. Great stuff. So tell us, you have a free gift for my viewers.
I do. So if you'd like to explore these principles a little deeper, I have created a 90-minute workshop, an online workshop called the Yoga Code, where I go into each of the principles and also give you ways that you can begin applying each one into your life right away. At the end of the workshop, there's also a live Q&A coaching session, so you can hear the principles in action. So someone coming to me with a question or a challenge, and I reflect back to them how they can use these principles to navigate through that. So it's quite fun, it's quite interactive, and you will also get the Yoga Code poster, a downloadable poster that you can print off and put on your bathroom mirror if you so desire.
Beautiful.
And that can be accessed at theyogacode.com.
Yes, and I have the link right down here below so everybody can just click on it. That is a great reminder. Just print it out, put it on your mirror or on your refrigerator or wherever you're going to look. And then you just kind of give yourself little reminders on what is your path, what's your direction, what's your intention and your commitment, like you said, commitment.
Or just pick one. Like look at the poster, pick one that you'll practice for that day and really just try and embody that principle for the day.
Beautiful. So instead of putting on your stretchy pants, well,
Yes.
we don't want to say
You can still do
instead,
it.
but
Yeah. You can actually practice these through asana. I mean, what I find is that when you start to practice the philosophy of yoga, your physical asana practice gets a lot stronger because you understand the foundation of this practice.
yes, so you use the spiritual principle as you're working with your body.
That's right.
That's gorgeous. Perfect. So, Jackie, it's just been such an enlightening interview with you here today. I so appreciate all your wisdom and everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it with all of my heart.
Awesome. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And stay tuned. We have a special, very special guest tomorrow. So I will see you again on the next installment of Heal Your Shadow. Heal the shadow in your relationships, too. Bye-bye.